start. Alrighty, welcome everybody. And today we're going to do a deeper dive on managing stress during these challenging times. I'd like to make this as interactive as possible. And the other thing that I'm going to do, and so this is why I've asked you to be really engaged today, is I'm going to be putting you into Zoom groups. So Zoom breakout rooms where you'll have a chance to have deeper conversations, and they may be with complete strangers, and they may be with some of your coworkers, because I've noticed some of you have signed up from the same organization. So the computer will randomly select what group you're in so that you can have a deeper conversation. And then we'll share and talk as a group as well. And so I want to also give you some coaching so we can coach through some things. And then at the end of today, actually, let me take you through the agenda of what I'd like. We're going to have a roundtable discussion. I'll ask you a couple questions to get us started, and then I'll just ask you to type your name in the chat function, and then we're going to talk. So we're going to get off on mute today. Don't worry if there's things going on around you. I'm not concerned about your kids running around, your dog, your spouse, your partner is asking you what you had for lunch and what you've left them, or your phone's ringing off the hook. I'm not worried about any of the background things. That's just the reality of what's going on right now. So please don't stress out about that. Let's have one less thing to worry about. So we'll do a roundtable discussion, and then I'm going to give you some stress management suggestions, and then I'm going to have you actually work on your own plan. I'm going to ask you to pick a couple of things from the stress management suggestions that I'm going to be sharing with you, and then I'm going to have you work through on your own, and then in the Zoom breakout groups with the small team that you'll be working with to really develop a plan for yourself. So I find that it's great that we get on these webinars, but I get off of them and I don't do anything that I've learned. So I actually want to have you walk away with something today that's tangible. How's that sound? Good? Okay, great. Love it. All right, so let's start with a roundtable discussion. And in the roundtable discussion, the first question I want to ask everybody are, what are the things that are making you anxious right now? And so if you can unmute yourself and just really share, and like more so, maybe I'll start just to give you an example of what I'm talking about. So one of the things that's making me anxious right now, I have to say I've been managing mental health because I teach this. So I should be able to handle this. So one of the things that I was surprised when I was thinking about this webinar yesterday, something that made me anxious, up until yesterday, I've been in a great position where my clients have wanted to move to virtual training. So I've been able to pivot some of my offerings and the work that I do until yesterday. So yesterday I got a call from 2 clients who called and said, hey, can we push out things because we really want to be managing our cash flow right now? And one of them was halfway through a contract and said, can we either cancel a contract? Because they were also looking, it was a US company, and they were looking to get some of the grants. They're not even loans in the US. There's some grants that are being given to businesses around payroll and things along those lines. And one of the criteria is they needed to show that they didn't have a lot of outstanding debt to vendors. So they wanted to pause or cancel their contracts with people so that they wouldn't have to show those expenses, and so that the government would know that they're using the payroll amounts to pay their employees as opposed to paying off vendors. That got me anxious. I was like, oh, it was okay when people wanted to move to virtual world, but now what's going to happen if people want to push everything out or want to cancel contracts? So as a entrepreneur, and with that, you know, I have a commitment to pay. I'm thinking about, wow, how am I going to manage some of the things that I need to manage? And I don't know what tomorrow looks like. So those are some of the things that are causing me anxiety or anxiousness right now. And I watched the news last night. Didn't take my own advice. Finished watching Miss Maisel, the marvelous Miss Maisel, laughed my head off. And then as I was switching channels, a Trump speech came on. And as I started hearing more about what was happening, I also started getting really worried about what is the state of affairs today. So that's me. Can I just start from the top of the house as I see your pictures, and I'll call you. So just to let you know what I'm seeing. So I see Kristen, Mark, and then Sue. and then Jane, and then Rob. So Kristen, let's start with you.
Yeah, just all of it. Like, I don't know what's coming next. We basically had to stand down our entire team, like as a public-facing business. Obviously, we've got no capacity to make revenue, which means we can't pay staff. So we had to do that, and then helping them navigate through the process. And it's just, yeah, I don't know what's happening next.
And are you at work? You look like you're at work.
Yeah, so I'm the only person here, which is also weird coming into Zombieland every day, but it's just to make sure that, we can keep clearing the schedule as needed. Obviously, it happened right before March break, which we were completely full. So it's, just coming in and half getting through having good customer service face, and then just dealing with, what happens on that other end of the phone.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Mark?
Sorry, I'm a bit slow off the trigger with my unmute. I think probably similar to you, Christine, probably two things. I think there's kind of a macro thing I'm worried about in terms of the world. And I can have this weird sense of responsibility or accountability to think about what I can do to kind of fix that. So I'm feeling anxious about that. And then I think similarly, I kind of just recently started a business kind of about 9 months ago, but I kind of relaunched that literally the day before the wheels fell off the world, which is unfortunate timing in many respects, or not, I'm not sure. So there's kind of anxiety and uncertainty around that as well.
Thanks for sharing. And Mark, if you want to type in your last name, I'm gonna say this is why I'm asking you to do that. So Mark has this great LinkedIn feed right now called Goat Rodeo, where it's musings from an Englishman in the state of the world. So if you want to find Mark on LinkedIn, his news feed is really good. So thanks, Mark. Sue.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can, thanks.
Okay, I've been told I sound like a robot with this headset, so I'll try not to sound like a robot. So I guess I'm stressed out. I feel like there's a heaviness, like a weight on my shoulders. I'm concerned also with lack of leadership. It is uncertain times. I'm concerned about what's going on in the US. I'm in Canada right now, but concerned about, my neighbors down south and what's happening there. What I see is really, really scary. As far as work, I think that there's always potential for layoffs, and that's a concern also. And, just trying to also serve our customers as best as we can right now with what we have.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Sue.
Yep.
Jane.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, perfect. I think just to echo everyone else's concerns, similar, just the uncertainty of it all. I think I was okay a few weeks ago when it first started and we had to, it was recommended that, we stay home and so on. But there was a time frame to it. It was like for 2 weeks, right? So now it's kind of been extended and it keeps getting extended. And I feel like maybe if I knew if there was a date that maybe, I can just mentally prepare it. And so not having that is, I guess maybe that loss of control is a bit challenging. And yeah, just concerned for like family in the States, here at home, in-laws, parents, all of that. My teenagers, like, am I meeting their, all of their needs, like that social and emotional piece?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks, Jane. Thanks for sharing. Rob.
All right, now I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
We can. Thanks.
Okay. Well, interesting for me. I started, as you know, probably Christine, I started a business 2 years ago, and it was slowly building. And then late February, early March hit. And, full disclosure for everyone, I just happened to be perhaps in the right place at the right time to see my business take off. I offer a travel product which is not for everyone because it's costly, but for those who can afford it, it's a way to get home pretty fast and avoid having to travel on the airlines. So I'm a private air charter broker, and we've seen tremendous growth in the last month or two. And the stress that that's causing me is sort of twofold. Number one, I suddenly realized that I don't have enough bandwidth by myself as a sole proprietor to handle the volume of requests that are suddenly coming in. But as a positive stressor in reaction to everything that's going on in the world, I feel sort of highly motivated to be able to help people who are in need, who need to get home. And who need to get back to loved ones. And there are people who are sort of kind of stretching their budgets to try and fly this way, or maybe get together with other family members or other friends who they know they can share a plane with. And I guess it's just sort of the counterweight to the stress of the volume of work is just knowing that I'm trying to help people and am helping people. So weird times is all I can say in my case. Very weird.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Rob.
No problem.
Sarah. Oh, hang on. You're on mute. I'm going to unmute you. Oops. There you go.
All right. I think just the same as everyone else is saying, that same stress of uncertainty and wondering when this is going to be over and what's next in terms of jobs, economy, everything. My family owns a small business of which my brothers are employed at. So that's an additional stress for that, although they are an essential service. At what sense do they put themselves at risk? Back to their families and just that type of stress.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. And Sue. I'm not sure if she's.
Oh, I went already.
Oh, sorry, Sue. Oh, then it's Stuart.
Same thing that everyone else has kind of said. It's really the uncertainty that, oops, sorry, that's my phone.
Don't worry.
The uncertainty and not knowing, the same thing, like 2 weeks was okay, we'll work from home, try to figure this out with the family, but having the whole family home and being a, homeschooling and working full time and the challenge of, family, just wanting to stay connected. To be honest, once my day is done, I'm physically spent and I don't want to do anything. And then I've got, elderly parents that are used to being very active and about, and so they're calling me, and at that point, like I said, I'm just done. So it's just the level of, sorry, I'm calling me another way, just the level of trying to figure out how much longer. I know things are going to change, and they're going to be changed for a very long time, and what was our norm is new. This is kind of a new norm, but just wondering, how much longer I'm going to be at home working with my family here.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So it sounds like, there's interesting mix in terms of, the not knowing how long this is going to last. Sort of what's the continuity plan of how long we have to go. And also, Rob, I'm glad you brought up, like, there's some new opportunities of things that are happening as well. And so for those folks who are business owners, how do we find new ways of working? And not, like, who would have thought that a pandemic would have created a business need in terms of alternate air travel, right? So that's kind of an interesting thing, is that there are new opportunities that are happening right now. It's just trying to figure out what they are. Okay, great, thank you. So I asked you the first questions. I wanted some of the things that are making you anxious or concerned. I'm also interested in, what have you tried? So before I start giving you all sorts of tips and suggestions, I'd like to know, what have you tried that's helping you to minimize some of the feelings that you're feeling right now? And we can go in no particular order.
Well, maybe I'll just briefly start by saying that exercise for me, I can't go to the gym anymore. Gym's closed, so I'm out running. And I'm trying to do it every other day. And in between, at least get out with the kids and do some kind of activity outside.
Okay, great. Yeah. What about others? What are you doing?
Similar to Rob. Sorry.
Go ahead, Mark.
Go, Mark.
I think similar to Rob, just trying to kind of keep to some sort of routine or find some sort of routine. I also kind of found myself last week just doing lots of random things which I thought were going to be helpful that weren't. So that was kind of, I think, a way of just trying to get focused this week has been helpful. Just be a bit more, have a bit more clarity.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mark. Sarah?
I'm just trying to find control. So I'm controlling things I didn't used to control. I'm making sure that I kind of have a daily routine, even if it looks different. Getting outside every day, so the exercise piece, but just getting out of the house where it's safe to.
Yeah.
I'll go. Kind of speaking to what Sarah was saying around just trying to find what I can actually control. So I use the Calm and the Breathe apps for meditation. So I know you're a fan of those, Christine. So I've been using those regularly. And I found yesterday I printed out a calendar and I just plotted like what dinners were going to be for the next 2 weeks. And I found that kind of reduced my stress quite a bit. Just being able to plot that out. Because then I know what I have to buy, and it's not this constant stress of having to risk going to the grocery store and getting exposed. And I found too, like I adjusted my start time and my end time with working from home, which actually has helped quite a bit. I found that I was finishing at 4 o'clock, which was actually just too early for me, because I would sit there and go, okay, well, what am I going to do now? And then I would end up having a nap. And anyway, it was a big thing, but I found if I worked until 4:30, then that was much easier. I could start dinner right at 4:30, and it was way better for me. So yeah, anyway, that's it.
Thanks. Yeah, others, what have you tried? If anything. If you haven't tried anything, say that too.
So I think, trying to get outside and keep moving is helpful. I stay connected with friends. I've reconnected with old friends, so that's been nice because there's lots of time to do that now. Going to start a book club with some of the older friends, like some of my old friends that we've reconnected with. So that's something to look forward to. And I think just having, scheduling those chats, like there's one group we're scheduled to meet every Tuesday, another group like on Thursdays. And so, and just having those things to look forward to, I think, gives a little bit of purpose to it.
Great.
I found that what I've tried to do is take time for things that I haven't had time for before. So with young children, my weekends have been spent a lot of running around from activity to activity. So now that those are all canceled, I'm, trying to make a nice dinner every night, as opposed to and no judgment because I do it most of the time, but there was a lot of nights with like chicken fingers and fries. So I'm trying to kind of use some of the food that I have and, take that time for things that I've been putting off for a long time.
Great. Great.
I love chicken fingers and fries.
I know, me too. That was like a staple. That and Tim Hortons drive-through.
There is no judgment. I'm just saying because I have time now, I'm trying to make something a little bit so that when things go back to somewhat, hopefully the way that they were, I can go back to my chicken fingers and they're not exhausted with them yet.
Great. Kristen, anything for you?
Not really. I mean, it's all kind of been covered. I'm doing that. I'm also just trying to spend time hanging out with my dog, just because if there's one person who's always ready to party, it's her. And you can't have that weight of the world.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I have to say, having pets around, if you have a pet at home, that is like the best form of therapy, and they don't care. They need to go out for a walk. They need to go, and they will tell you. So if you have a dog, fantastic. When I worked in mental health and I worked at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, our pet therapy program was, I have to say, it was such a huge integral part of clients' recovery. And so we really saw the benefits that animals provided. So my sister, she probably wouldn't be happy for me to share this, so I'm going to. So she is at home alone. Her kids are grown up and she can't have access to her grandkids. So the other day I called her and she was making a ton of noise in the background. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? She says, I'm talking to the budgies. I was like, talking to the budgies? I'm like, do they talk back to you? She said, no, but I need to talk to something. And her dog is like, I don't know, 15 years old and on its last leg. So the dog doesn't talk much. It doesn't need walks. It doesn't need anything. So I think she's been walking the budgies around the house. It's really kind of funny. So any kind of pets, whatever you've got, this works. Now, so great. So a lot of you have already come up with things. I'm almost always thinking, what else could be helpful to you and who can help you with that? And I'll tell you what I'm thinking with these questions. So the other day when I did the webinar on leading a virtual team and supporting mental health, there's so much conversation about mental health right now. And I've worked in mental health for years and years, but I'm home isolated without access, and this is in my mind, without access to like the groups I would normally talk to, being out there and finding out what's cutting edge, what's happening. And so I realized I've been trying to solve a lot of the world's problems in my own head with only my limited knowledge. And so after yesterday's conversation, I was like, who is doing stuff out there in the world? Like, what things are happening in mental health and who can I connect with and what new ideas can we start to percolate? Because I can't come up with them on my own. I need to talk to people. And so today I decided, I made a list of 5 people who I perceive to be gurus around various areas of mental health. And I'm going to reach out to them and have a meeting and say, what can we be doing? Because this is going to be coming down the pipeline at a greater rate. So what is available? What can we be doing? So 5 heads, I figure, will prevail better than my own. So what might be helpful to you in terms of the things that you're going through right now? What do you need? And who can help you with that?
I think this, even just having these conversations with a platform of other people that are having the same feelings and the same thoughts is helpful.
Great. Good to know it. Yeah, who else?
Chrissy, it kind of builds on the kind of your idea. I think similarly, you know, what I was saying last week, I was perhaps unconsciously searching for those people to kind of partner with. So I ended up, in some respects, taking too many calls or having too many kind of conversations with people and then feeling a bit overwhelmed and distracted by that. So I think a kind of list of 5 is manageable and sensible. And, you know, having done more of that this week and connecting, being more deliberate about who I connect with, at the risk of sounding like I'm overthinking it, has been helpful.
Great, thanks. And Shelley, welcome. All right, so we were just having a roundtable discussion about what's top of mind for us right now and what we can do and what we've been doing to minimize some of those feelings and what can help. So I want to lead us on to the next piece of this is some stress management strategies. And I will say some of these are from the power model that I've shared before. Also, there was a great, what's the word I'm looking for? Post. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a great post on Facebook from a psychologist. And I've looked at what they wrote and came up with another, couple of things. And this is my list of 15 for you. And I'm sure there's many more we can add. I keep hearing, and I know this is helpful for me, is creating a routine and sticking to it. Sometimes we're not in a great headspace. It's hard to create a routine and we get lazy about it. Dress for your work day. So dress how you want to show up. On the weekends, I am in sweats and I don't put makeup on. And if I brush my hair, that is a miracle. But that's the weekend. That's my downtime. When I'm on during the day, this was one of I think the greatest things somebody had said to me when I started working from home and no longer had a team to manage. When I went into work, I worked and I looked great. I dressed well. I had my business suits. Nobody at home cared if I wore a business suit. And so it just didn't make sense to me. So I started dressing more and more casually until you couldn't tell the difference between my work day and my home day. And so I've just realized even putting makeup on. Now, for some of you, especially guys, if you don't typically wear makeup, I get it. It's okay. I'm not encouraging you to be putting on makeup today unless you want to. I mean, that's entirely your choice. But what I am suggesting is whatever you would do to go to work, do it. Do it. And even if it means there's something powerful about transitions, transitioning from your personal time to your work time and then transitioning back to your personal time. So maybe what the transition from personal to work in the morning is, when you get up, you put on your work clothes. When you're done at the end of the day, you transition, go put on your sweats or your evening attire, your pajamas, whatever it is, it's your comfy clothes. Just that one act helps you to delineate and create boundaries between work and personal. Move. I've been sharing, I've been doing this seven-minute video workout thing. It's called One and Done. It's great because no matter how much I hate to work out, I can even do 7 minutes. So just that helps me stretch. And then when I'm eating the cornbread that I've been baking, I don't feel nearly as gluttonous or guilty. So just move. And again, if you have a pet who demands to be walked, you get the next one covered too. Get outside, be with nature. A couple minutes a day. Go hug a tree. Just make sure no one's hugged it before you. So I don't want you sanitizing trees. I don't think it's healthy for them. So, but just being out in nature. And if you live downtown, there are still places with trees. There are parkettes. I know they've closed down like a lot of things now that you can't go to, but if you can find a nature trail to walk, just something for a couple of minutes. Connect with others. It sounds like many of you have been doing that. Eat well and stay hydrated. Here's the thing, like there's 6 different kinds of eating, and one of them is around emotional eating. It's not nutritional eating. So emotional eating is the one that we do when we're bored and we just look to feed ourselves with something. That's typically when we're reaching for cakes, cookies, and chips. So just think about what's the purpose of what am I eating, and then maybe I could have a glass of water or an Earl tea, or not Earl Grey, but some sort of decaffeinated or herbal. That's the word I'm looking for, herbal tea. Develop a self-care toolkit. How many of you have kids at home? Just put up your hands. Okay, great. So if you have kids at home, and I would say even up, like, doesn't matter how old they are, having everybody create a self-care toolkit's really cool. So what would you put in a self-care toolkit? I would put trashy novels in there because I like to read candy floss for my brain. That's my escape. So if I'm not watching TV or Netflix, I'm reading trashy novels. Do you know, you can learn a lot of good Scrabble words in trashy novels. I'm just saying, right? Every reading is educational. No judgment. So what else would you put in your self-care toolkit? You know, like I like soft things. So I might put the teddy bear that I won at the CNE last year in it. Who knows? Not that I'm going to sleep with it necessarily, but it's just nice to touch. I love essential oils. I probably would put my whole self-care toolkit full of essential oils. So just thinking about what are the things that, maybe it's a scrapbook of memories or photographs of places that you've been, something you can touch. So no tablets in there, no anything. It's things that you can tangibly touch and look at. Make time for fun and play. Kids are handling this coronavirus because they're having fun playing. They are doing stuff. They are making stuff out of pots and pans. It's unbelievable, the creativity and the imagination that kids come up with. So schedule time for fun. Create your own retreat space. So for some of you, if you are living with other people and you're working from home, I know you might want to hurt them. And that's okay to have feelings like that. I'm also going to recommend maybe having your own space that you can go to, that like when you're in this, maybe even put masking tape on the floor, etch out a little space and say, in this zone right here, there's pretend walls. You can't see me and I can't hear you. And maybe you give yourself a timeout for half an hour a day. And you just sit in there. You could sit with your back to everybody else. Whatever it is, find your own retreat space. Put some candles, put some flowers. I went grocery shopping the other day and I found flowers. There was tulips at the store. And it's funny because I'm in the US still. So Rob, thank you for your offer. I may need to like be evacuated at some point in time. I don't know how I'm ever going to get home. And I found tulips that were grown in Canada. It made me so excited. I have no idea how they got across the border, but they did. So your own retreat space. Now is a great time to practice radical self-acceptance. So I can't do it all. So right now I don't have the bandwidth to create new and revolutionary ways to solve the world's problems. Maybe that's okay. Maybe it's okay to just give myself that permission to not have all my shit together. Maybe it's okay. Limit your news and social media. I don't think I need to delve into that one. Helping others. So the whole purpose of why I've been running all these free webinars is because I'm so appreciative that it helps other people and that people are getting something out of it, but it gives me purpose. It gives me something to do. I mean, I could be modifying other programs and selling online things right now. I could be doing all those, but I have to say, coming back and volunteering for me has been a cornerstone of my purpose. It was part of what I did when I worked at CAMH. I was the director of volunteer resources for a long period of time in addition to all my other duties. And I loved the work that we did because the volunteer program gave me the opportunity for fun and playing to try new creative things. Also, volunteering has led to great business opportunities for me. So helping other people has been a great benefit to myself. Maybe one of the things, and just coming back to, is there ever an end in sight, is it's only temporary. This is temporary. I don't know what temporary looks like, but it's temporary. We will eventually go back to work in some way, shape, or form. We will eventually get the economy back up and running. It may not look like it did in January of 2020, but we will return to some new state of normal. And then the other last thing is, what can come out of this? So what have I learned about myself? And what good can come out of all these things? You know, so Kristen, I'm just looking at you and I'm thinking, can't really run that company all by myself. I can hold down the fort, but I need people. I need a team. And maybe now also thinking of contingency things. So what does it look like if in the next 6 months we have to or physically distance? Does that mean only one person at a time comes in and you're holding people off at bay? If you do, what other entertainment options are there while people are waiting in line to come in and see you? So like there's just, there's things, but then you need to give yourself the bandwidth to be able to think about that. And first that requires rest and taking care of yourself. So I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions about any of the ones that I shared? Can you all take a picture of this? Because I'm going to ask you to pick a couple of these to work on. So if you're at your computer, you can screenshot it or you can use your cameras, whatever works. Because when I break you up into the breakout rooms, you won't have access to see this slide. All right, have I given you enough time to do that? Yeah. Shelly, I have a question to ask you. I'm going to unmute you. Because you came in a little bit late, I want to just make sure, I can't unmute you. There we go. We're going to be breaking out into breakout groups to work. So I'm going to mute you for now, but I'm going to have you unmute when you go into the breakout room, okay?
Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'll put you back on mute. Fantastic. So when you're looking at a couple of these that you want to start, I think one of the most difficult things is, how do we create habits out of this? How do we start a habit? How do we keep a habit? There's a great book if you have nothing to do and you want to read. The book's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. So Atomic Habits, James Clear. And it has this really simple formula for how to create a habit and how to make the habit stick. So I'm going to just teach it to you really quickly before I have you go off and working on this. So something is called a habit stacker. And what his premise is it's usually easier to create a habit when you already have a habit. So one of the things might be that, does everybody brush their teeth? It's good. That was like a rhetorical question. Okay, smile. Yeah, okay, everybody brushes their teeth. Is that a habit that you've created? It's probably a habit that you've continued to do all of your life, and you do it twice a day, which is great. So because it is a habit that you have, you might want to think about, how can you stack a new habit off of an old established habit that you have? So let's say brushing your teeth is one of them. Say one of the things that you want to do is, I want to dress for work every day now. So you would say, so your current habit is brushing your teeth. So after brushing my teeth, I will put on dress clothes, is my new habit. It seems so simple, doesn't it? Stack an old habit and a new habit. So and I'm going to encourage you to take a picture of this too, so that you can know how to do this. Or it could be, I drink coffee every morning. So mine could be, after drinking coffee, I will meditate for 10 minutes. Make sense? So far, so good? Okay, great. So then the other thing on top of habit stacking is habit intentions. So habit intentions, I use this with my coaching clients. Often my coaching clients will say, yeah, so I'm going to work on this leadership behavior of listening better. I'm like, great. When are you going to do that? I'm going to practice my next team meeting. When's your next team meeting? Well, I haven't scheduled it. Okay, when is your, like, what do you need to do to schedule your team meeting? Well, I need to send out an invite. Well, what will it take for you to do that? Like, I almost have to go into minutia, because for somebody to say, yeah, I'll just do that next week, if you don't schedule it, it's never going to happen. So it might be, I will, and then the action is, I will meditate at 8 a.m. in my bed. So I've given what my action is going to be, the time I'm going to do it, and the location at which I'm going to do it. Now, time might actually not be like a concrete time, like 8 a.m. It might be, I will meditate at early morning when I wake up first thing in the morning. So once I wake up, or once I wake up, then I will meditate. You can use the time because the time is sometimes better. So, you know, I will journal at 9 p.m. in my bedroom before going to bed, after brushing my teeth. And then this way I've done the habit stacker and the habit intention all in one. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to have you think about which new habits you want to start. I'm going to give you a minute, because this will give me a minute to transition you as well. I'm going to give you a minute to write down which ones you want to work on and how you're going to start creating some intention around it and as a habit. Then I'm going to put you in your groups. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do and just write and reflect on your own. Then I'm going to put you in your breakout groups. So when you see something pop up that says, Jane, join breakout group, hit join, and it'll take you into the meeting. You'll have 5 minutes in the meeting to share what you're coming up with and how you're going to hold yourselves accountable to actually starting something to work on some of your stress, because control is key when it comes to managing stress. And then I'll bring you back and we'll quickly debrief for the next couple of minutes. Before I send you off, anybody have any questions? No? Okay, great. So you then go ahead and start working on that while I work on.
Do you spy on us, Christine, in our groups?
No, I didn't. I can come and join, but you'll see when I join. Today I didn't want to. I didn't give you fair warning that I could spy, so I didn't want to do it. But how was that?
We had the door.
How was that? I'm curious. How was that working with strangers?
Pretty good.
Did you feel
It
uncomfortable
was
at all?
good.
Yeah? Okay, great. Did
Just the whole environment you create, Christine. You see, we're all comfortable doing this. You know?
so happy to hear that, Rob. You know, it is one of my life's purposes to create safe space for people to
There you
grow
go.
and learn. So I'm glad I'm living it. Thanks. And so now that you had a chance, and really it was just a quick foray into creating your plan, I'd love for you to continue working on, you know, what 2 or 3 things for, I mean, I don't want you to be overzealous, but just pick a couple. What do you want to work on that's going to be really helpful to you to get you going? And I, you know, if I think about my own, mine will be starting a better routine of ending and starting and being intentional. Yesterday was around 7:30 and my guy was sitting on the couch still doing emails. I'm like, I'm waiting to watch The Marvelous Miss Maisel. Oh, where are we going to be? Because I'm not allowed to have an affair and like watch a TV show without him. So I'm like, could you please get off the phone so we could do this? But we hadn't contracted that day. And so I was irritated because I didn't set up my expectations and we didn't have a conversation about it. So just being really intentional about, you know, starting, stopping, and communicating with people what your needs are. So I hope you found that helpful. I do want to ask before we jump off today, what would you like me to do with the recording of this? Your breakout groups are not recorded. It's just the content we shared. Do you want me to send this out to the 8 of you, or what would you like me to do?
Sure.
Yeah, you're okay with that? Let me try this. Let's try this another way. Does anyone oppose for me to share? Okay, this will not go to the larger group, just to those of you who are on today. All right, well, great. Well, thank you. And thank you. I really appreciate many of you have been on like most of the webinars that I've been hosting lately. Yes, you can, Mark. And so really appreciate that you've been on. I'm going to continue to do this at least once a week. I think I'm going to do one next week on how to survive working with your significant other at home. And I'm going to have him on the call with me.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. So I will send that out to this group. And if you have a significant other that you want to bring along on that webinar, let me know. All right, thanks. And thanks for your patience today with our screw up. I really appreciate that. So glad you made it. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and I hope to see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Christine. Bye now.